Welcome to the infamous edition of the Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation done through creative storytelling of history's most infamous people. Now, let's meet our guest. Welcome to the podcast. Let's start at the absolute beginning, where the public narrative hasn't yet distorted who you were. When and where were you born, and what was your given name?
I was born as Earle Leonard Farrell on May 12, 1897, right in San Francisco, California.
What was your hometown and home life like as a child?
San Francisco was a bustling place, but my home life was dark from the very start. Before I even hit my second birthday, both of my parents passed away from syphilis. I was an only child, left entirely alone until my maternal grandparents, Lars and Jenny Nelson, took me in. They tried to raise me with strict, puritanical values, keeping things incredibly rigid. After my grandmother died when I was around 11, I was passed off to live with my aunt, Lillian Fiben.
Was there a story behind your name, or a nickname that stuck with you?
Well, I eventually took my mother's maiden name, Nelson, which is how most people know me. But once my crimes made national headlines, the newspapers gave me names that stuck like glue: the Gorilla Man Strangler and the Dark Strangler, mostly because of my physical build and the size of my hands. I also used aliases like Virgil Wilson and Charles Harrison when I was drifting.
What were you like as a child, and how many years of schooling did you actually attend?
I was a deeply troubled kid, always acting out. I only made it to about the second grade before I was completely expelled for my terrible behavior. I was constantly teased by the other kids too. I had this strange habit where I'd walk to school in clean clothes, but come home in dirty, completely different outfits that I'd traded with people or found lying around.
Was there a specific moment when you realized you were fundamentally different from everyone else?
When I was about 11 years old, I was struck by a streetcar. The collision left a literal hole in my skull, and I was stuck in a coma for 6 days. After I finally woke up, I was never the same. I started suffering from excruciating headaches, memory loss, and eventually I began hearing voices and experiencing what I called spells. I knew my mind didn't work like the other kids did.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
When I was a teenager, I started sneaking down to the San Francisco docks to go on heavy alcohol binges and visit prostitutes. It felt like an escape from the voices and the pressure in my head, but giving into those compulsions set me on a very dark path that I couldn't pull myself back from.
Let's talk about your early run-ins with the law. Before the world knew your name for your most infamous actions, what was your very first arrest or interaction with law enforcement, and what were the consequences?
My first major booking was in Los Angeles for burglary under the name Farrell. They threw me in the LA County Jail, but I managed to escape after 5 months. Later on, in 1921, I tried to molest a young girl named Mary Summers, but her brother heard her screams and stopped me. That landed me right in the Napa State Mental Hospital.
At what moment did you realize your name would never be forgotten?
It was in 1926 when the media realized a single person was responsible for a trail of dead landladies across the United States. I was moving constantly: California, Oregon, Washington, all the way to the Midwest and the East Coast. Every time a body was found hidden under a bed or in an attic, the newspapers went into an absolute frenzy about the Gorilla Strangler.
Did fame make you more dangerous, or did it simply expose who you already were?
The newspaper reports didn't change me, they just tracked the escalation that was already happening in my head. The more I drifted from city to city, the less control I had over my dark impulses. The notoriety just meant I had to change my name and move faster.
Who do you believe betrayed you first? A person, society, or your own instincts?
My own mind and instincts betrayed me before anyone else could. The voices, the head injuries from the streetcar accident, and a fall from a ladder later in life completely shattered my sanity. I couldn't hold down an odd job for more than a few days, and I was entirely at the mercy of the chaos inside my own skull.
What was your most unique habit or a random fact about you that would surprise people?
People might be surprised to learn that I was intensely interested in religion. Even while I was drifting and committing terrible acts, I carried a Bible with me constantly and loved to quote scripture to anyone who would listen.
What did the public never understand about the pressure you were under at the time?
The public just saw a monster, but they didn't comprehend the sheer mental illness driving it all. I spent years being committed to the Napa State Hospital, escaping and being dragged back. I was constantly battling a fractured mind, but to the world, I was just a vicious drifter.
Did you have any known rivalries that defined your career?
My main adversaries weren't individual lawmen, but the entire collective force of the communities I entered. When I crossed the border into Canada, it sparked the largest manhunt in Canadian history up to that point. It was me against hundreds of citizens and law officers tracking my every move.
What personal battles were you fighting privately while the world was watching?
Behind the headlines, I was fighting severe mental illness and a body failing from trauma. I was diagnosed as mentally insane, constantly fighting off the physical pain of my old head injuries and dealing with a brief, failed marriage to a woman named Mary Martin that fell apart within months.
What was your darkest moment? And was there ever a time you wanted to walk away from it all?
My darkest moments were during my stays in the asylum, feeling trapped with the thoughts in my head. I tried to walk away by escaping the hospital multiple times and even tried to join the Army and Navy on 3 separate occasions to lose myself in the service, but my disappearing acts always got me discharged.
When the law finally closed in, how exactly were you brought to justice? Walk me through the final arrest, the charges that ultimately stuck, and the legal outcome of your trials.
In June 1927, I killed 2 women in Winnipeg, Manitoba, a young girl named Lola Cowan and a woman named Emily Patterson. The Canadian authorities caught me near Wacopa, but I actually escaped the local lockup when the guard left to find matches. They hunted me down again near Lena, Manitoba, while I was trying to slip back to the US. I was tried specifically for the murder of Emily Patterson. My defense attorney argued insanity, but the prosecution's psychiatrist declared me sane. I was convicted and sentenced to hang.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you? And what part of your story has been exaggerated the most?
The newspapers circulated all kinds of wild stories. They claimed my grandparents subjected me to horrific hell and damnation, Pentecostal preaching as a child, to explain why I quoted the Bible. But historical researchers later found there was no evidence of that at all.
What is the biggest misconception people have about your life?
The biggest misconception was how the media painted my appearance. The press described me as a dark-skinned, physically brutal, massive monster because of the gorilla moniker. But once I was captured and sitting quietly in a cell, people realized I was just a regular, frail-looking man who barely matched the terrifying posters.
What would surprise people most about your ordinary human side?
Just how unremarkable I could appear. I was able to rent rooms from landladies all over the continent because I could act like an ordinary, polite lodger who just wanted a quiet place to stay.
When, where, and how did you pass away?
I passed away on January 13th, 1928. I was executed by hanging at the Vaughan Street Jail in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, at the age of 30.
Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before signing off?
I would just say that the human mind is a fragile thing. When it breaks early in life, it can take a person down a road they never truly intended to walk.
And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, do better with the life you have been given and choose to do good in this life. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.